What is up, guys? Welcome back to Five Friday Feedback. I'm not Chris. He's Chris. I'm Dom.
I'm Chris today. Yep,
You're
you're
Chris.
Dom.
Yeah, you're Chris. I'm Dom. Okay, yeah. We got that out of the way. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't happen. Welcome back to Five Friday Feedback, where we talk about Monday's pod, a little bit of a recap, and also do a little viewer mailbag on the back half with a win of the week. I got a good win of the week this week, so stay tuned for that. But yes, let's jump right into it.
Yep.
We're not here to waste time, so let's get right into it. What are we talking about today, Chris?
Well, on Monday's pod, we talked about the 12, and maybe I gave a bonus or two financial secrets that I wish I knew earlier. You know, working as a financial planner for a bunch of years, I've had the luck of being able to run the gamut of meeting people with a lot of money and work with people who have not a lot of money. And then also in my own life and my own experiences, I've also been in those places of not having very much money and having a surplus of money. So I think it's really good for people to work with financial advisors or work with people or be coached by people who don't just tell you these things in theory, but have actually lived it themselves and gone through it themselves. That way they can say, like, I remember what that was like. That was terrible, or that was good, or you're going to make it through it. And I know you're going to make it through it because I made it through it myself too. So I broke down 12, maybe 13, maybe 14 different money secrets that I learned over the years. And of course, there are substantially more money secrets than just these ones, but I really wanted to get it down to what's going to be actionable to our audience because we're all about action here. And we just kind of walk through all those 12. So if you want to hear all the 12, maybe 13, maybe 14 money secrets, please go back and listen to Monday's pod. But today we're going to just riff off of what our favorite money secrets were. And then we'll get into viewer mailbag and win of the week here on Five Friday Feedback. We're not as edited. We're not as polished as we are on our Monday pods. It really is just a conversation between me and Dominic, and you, the listener, get to be basically a fly on the wall as we talk through things and hear how we talk about it. Going to be a lot of philosophy, a lot of BS, and we're probably going to talk about Star Wars because we always do.
Yep, probably. Yep, we do love the deep Star Wars lore. Ugh, don't get me started about that. Don't get me started. I was watching Bad Batch the other day.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm watching season 3 too.
I was on stream. This was like 2 days ago, and a lot of the people in my community, they love Star Wars, big Star Wars fan, and they were telling me, they're like, "Did you hear about the ending?" I'm like, "Don't talk to me about. I will ban you right here, right now. Don't talk to me about the ending." And they dropped a bomb on me. It wasn't so
Don't
much about the ending, but about the whole series, and it kind of broke my heart a little bit.
don't
If
say
you
it.
got
I haven't watched it yet.
you'll understand. You'll understand. You may or may not understand. I'm not sure because it's not like they just come out and say. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
I'm sure I'll be able to figure out the subcontext. But yeah, I'm going on a vacation tomorrow, and I've downloaded them onto my iPad. So
I love it, dude. I freaking love it.
I have something to do on the plane.
Heck yeah. Are you getting the credit card points?
Oh, of course, bro. Everything is on credit card points. For next week's Five Friday Feedback, I'll talk all about how I was able to do this new vacation, and everything. But yeah, we're going to be leaving at the time of recording. We'll be leaving tomorrow. I'll be gone for a week. But don't worry, listener. Nothing's going to change in the recording. We are always ahead to make sure that we don't miss out on things. But with that being said, let's get into our favorite money secrets. I think we have 4, maybe 5 here that we're going to talk about. So Dominic, do you want to go first? What was your first favorite of our money secrets we talked about?
Yeah, the one that I liked was money secret number 2. It was beware of the lifestyle creep. And as Chris said last pod, that cracked me the heck up. There's not a creep out there named lifestyle, okay? Dude, had me rolling all week long. Let me tell you, that's the funniest thing I heard all day and all week. But yeah, there's a lot of pressure, especially when you start to make more money, increase and inflate your lifestyle. You start buying better things, better cars, better XYZ. And I'm not saying that when you start making more money, you shouldn't go out and buy better food, right? There's some things that I and Chris and I both agree on, right? If you have more money, you should get better food, honestly.
Yep.
Because that has to do with your health. And if you're not healthy, then you're not wealthy, right?
Yeah.
So
what do you got?
What do you got? Yeah, what do you got? Come on now. But it was more about keeping your fixed incomes, somewhat stable and reasonable to what you make. You don't want to go crazy. I heard this one thing recently that I thought was kind of interesting. I was going to bring it up on the pod. This guy that the way he organizes his money, he saves 50% of his money like he's going to live another 50 years. but
Okay.
the other 50% of his money he spends like he's gonna live another 50 days. What are your thoughts on that?
That that's cool if you could make that work out. I mean, again, the hard part about all this is that it's a balance, right?
Yeah.
We want to last week, I mean, our podcast was all about Die with Zero, which was going to the other side of the ledger and talking about like we should try to spend as much money as we can when we're young because we don't know if we're going to have those things in the future. But of course, we have to preface that with, but we probably will live into our old age. So it's always a balance. And that's why things are not as cut and dry as people want it to be. When people say like, Chris, just tell me what the rule is. How much money should I save? You know, I can't tell you how many times I have met with people as a financial advisor who say, Chris, how much money should I save? And to me, it's like, 50%. I mean, can you save 100%? Because you save 100%, and you guys are doing really, really well.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be, well, of course I can't do that. It's like, okay, then well, you tell me what you can save. Like, I can't tell you. I can tell you best practices, but I can tell you like, hey, ideally we want to save 10% of our income. That means we'll be able to retire in 55 years. And they're like, I don't want to retire in 55 years. I want to retire in 20 years. Okay, then. Well, then we need to change the math. I need to know what inputs you want, what you want out of life, what's your goals, what's your aspirations, what's your hopes. Then we can figure out a plan from there. But if you're just asking me for like willy nilly, what's general, I'll tell you what the general rules are. But the general rule applies to the general population, and the general population is broke. So do you really want to be there?
Dude, nobody wants to be broke. It sucks. It's not fun. I don't know about if everybody's been there, but if you have been there, it's not great. It
No.
sucks. It really sucks. It's not ideal. It's definitely not ideal. Glad we're not there anymore, though.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think it's tough is with lifestyle creep, especially nowadays with social media. You know,
Mhm.
before social media, I was a kid in the 90s, right? So when I was growing up, we didn't grow up in the best of circumstances. We were not an affluent family. But in my neighborhood, from what I knew, everyone was in the same boat. Like we all live inside the same neighborhood. We all ride our bikes and we all would skateboard around and like that's what we did. And there was no going on social media and seeing these other people's lives and comparing ourselves to those things because that just wasn't possible. The only things that I knew was what I saw on TV, which obviously wasn't ideal,
Yeah.
or what I saw in real person. But at least when I saw it on TV, it was like, okay, that's TV. That's something different. But when you're looking on social media, when you're scrolling through TikTok, when you're just watching reels all day or shorts or whatever it is, and you're seeing, again, person after person after person after person, you begin to get your life skewed and think this is what life must be like. It's kind of like a porn addict, right? Where they'll go online and they just watch porn all day long and they think this is what life is like. This is what being with a woman is like, and this is what all girls look like and things like that. And then you go into the real world and you're like, why aren't these people around? It's because you
Yeah.
desensitize yourself and you put yourself into this one school of thought and you thought that this is what everything looks like when that is not a good subsection of what the world looks like. Like looking at the average porn star and then being like, that's what all women look like. It's a very small, very, very narrow niche of individuals amongst the whole population of what are people.
Yeah, yeah. It's dystopian society and dystopian like views and videos and whatnot versus reality. I mean, they're two different. They're two different worlds, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're just people, right? We
Yeah.
gotta stop. We gotta get off the internet, man. We gotta get off the internet, bro. Go outside. Let's go outside. Good
Yeah.
boy.
I think like being with the, like growing up with the internet, it's like growing up with a borderline parent, right? It's like growing up with a parent that's like sometimes they're normal, but sometimes they're the most extreme person in the world, or like maybe someone who's like borderline or bipolar or something like that, where there's like these crazy highs and crazy lows, and maybe sometimes they're in the middle, but there's a lot of swinging around. That's what I think it's like to be a kid nowadays, on the internet, or even like a young adult. Is you just don't know what is reality anymore, and we're also being fed through the algorithm exactly what we need to see, exactly what's going to keep us engaged a little bit longer. Because at the end of the day, you know, ByteDance with TikTok, Google with YouTube, their goal is to keep you on platform. The longer you are on platform, the more money they make, the more revenue they can make, the more shit they can sell you.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
it's hard for people to look at those things every single day and assume that they're doing the right thing because they're looking at these people's perfect lives and they're like, I must be failing in so many different ways, where it's not like how it was in the 90s where, oh, no one's doing much better than me except for the people on TV, because everyone that I know in my little community, we're all on the same boat. So maybe at some point you just need to compare yourself to other people in your cohort. Remember where you came from. I always like for lifestyle creep, write down what you want and like write it down by hand. That way, when you achieve it, you can be like, I made it. And you're also going to realize that that wasn't what you wanted. And you're going to want to get another thing. And maybe after doing that 10 or 12 different times of achieving what you thought you wanted, you're going to realize that there's more to life than making more money and achieving material possessions. Maybe there's more life than just that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, material possessions are nice. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I know Chris and I both have gotten things where we're like, dude, I've wanted this for ages, man. And we finally got it. And we're like, this is sick. This is so fun. But it's not going to be like, it's not going to be like the same enjoyment as, being in a loving relationship or having good friends. It's not the same. Or not having stress from money or relationships or anything like that. Like, we do like our material stuff, but it's nice there's other things in life. There's definitely other things in life.
Yeah, and the way I look at it is like the material things; those are diminishing returns, right? Like I remember when I got this new podcasting mic, and I was like super excited. Like oh man, my voice is gonna come in so crispy. My audience is gonna love it. Dom was like, "This is the one to get."
Yes,
I bought
sir.
this quite expensive podcasting mic, and I was very excited about it. But nowadays, when I look at this podcasting mic, after having it for a few months, it's like okay, that's just there. It means nothing to me. But not having to go to work every single day, not having financial stress every single day, being able to look back on memory dividends that I made with my wife by going on vacation and stuff like that, those things, they're like a fine wine. They get better with time. Where the material possessions, they're the opposite. They get worse. They get diminished over time because they get messed up. They're going to get hurt. You just grow accustomed to having them. But there's never going to be a time that I'm going to look back and be like, man, I wish I didn't go on that trip with my wife to Japan. Like it was fun, but like I wish I had that money instead.
Yeah. Like, it's not a thing that you would ever say. And I find it so interesting that people oftentimes take really good care of their things, right? Like that microphone, you're not going to put water next to it. You're not going to put it on a shaky ledge. You're going to, you might clean it off a little bit, keep it safe. But people also will keep that nice, but they'll neglect their relationships. They won't have those difficult conversations. One of the topics in last pod, I don't remember which number it was. I think it was like 11 or something. But it was have great communication with your spouse, with your partner, right? And that is so huge because like if you do cherish your physical things, like Chris said, diminishing returns, well, you should cherish the things that aren't diminishing. Family, friends, loved ones, your health, stuff like that, the stress, all that fun stuff. And that's, dude, it's just so important. I think a lot of people need to shift their focus from material to really what's actually important.
Yeah, and we've talked about that before, right? The quantifiable versus the unquantifiable goods. And unfortunately, most people focus on the quantifiable measures of happiness, the quantifiable measures of success, how much money I'm making is usually what that comes down to. But I think at the end of the life, there's this old saying that I've always liked is you never want to come home with a pocket full of dollars to a household full of strangers. So it's always a balance in life that you want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, you're taking care of your family, you're taking care of all these things, but not at the detriment of being there with your family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's difficult. It's a hard thing to do. And lifestyle creep, to kind of bring it back all around, that's the thing that's going to make it difficult for you to ever really achieve financial independence, achieve your goals. If once you make $50,000, you finally feel like you made it, but your lifestyle increases to $50,000. The moment you make $100,000, your lifestyle increases to $100,000. The ideal would be we're making $50,000, but we're living off of $40,000. When we make $80,000, we're living off of $80,000. $200,000, we're living off $160,000 or 140, whatever it is. You just need to continue to work on that and figure that out for yourself, because it's going to be very difficult. And unfortunately, this is the way that most people run on this hedonic treadmill of life of, I'm making 50, I'm spending 50. I'm making 100, I'm spending 110. I'm making 200, I'm spending 250. And they realize, like, why can I never get out of this? It's because the way as they make more money, they also have the propensity to put themselves into a bigger financial hole.
Yep.
And then that's why they'll never figure it out until they listen to a podcast, or they're willing to look at that and say, this is what I want to do. And I'm going to put in the time, the effort, the commitment to get better at it. Because being good with finances is a skill. And like all skills, you can get better at it with time and commitment.
Yes. And you can also get worse at it if you don't practice it. So make sure to flex that muscle, just like going to the gym, eating healthy. You should be doing. It's important to continue to do proper financial habits and good financial training, I guess you could say, till it's like, built in, right? So, do you want to get on to the next one, or should we keep yapping on this one?
No, yeah, let's move on to secret number two. So my favorite, or one of my favorite ones, was how you were raised affects your money decisions today. And I don't think a lot of us we don't think about how our past, how the things we were taught, maybe either directly, but more likely indirectly, affect how we're moving forward today. The way I think about this, or most people kind of look at it nowadays, is like childhood, and you're raising your kid, and you realize that, oh no, I'm becoming my parent. I'm raising my kid the same way that my parents did, and you know how screwed up you are, and how screwed up, what your parents did to you was, and how maybe it wasn't the best idea, but you have no other idea of how to do any better. So you just repeat the same generational sins or traumas or whatever it is over and over and over again. It's the same way with your money. If you saw mom and dad and they're always in credit card debt and they were just like, this is just how life is, then you kind of accept that as this is normal. And then you might work to rebuild that same thing. Cause even though it may not be working for you, it seems normal or it seems comfortable. And sometimes we can become comfortable with the uncomfortable or incomfortable.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's crazy what you learn like subconsciously without not even like you're not even like sitting down and reading. Like you just absorb it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially as a young person. Dude, you absorb everything. You're like a sponge. And that can be a problem sometimes.
Yeah.
That can definitely be a problem.
I know something that I grew up with, and speaking to a lot of my clients, it seems like it's very common is, oh, we can't afford that. We can't afford that. You can't have that. We can't afford that. And, some parents even had money. Like some of the kids, they were telling me like, oh, no, we grew up with money. And my parents would still say, oh, we can't afford that. And they still thought like, oh, we just must not have money all the time. We're about to run out of money. We're about to be on the streets. And it could just be little comments like that. So something that I've really want to be conscious of when I have a kid is telling them, not that we don't have money for that when they ask for something, because they're kids and of course they're going to ask for things, but it's going to be, we choose to not be able to purchase that, or we can't have that right now because we're going to have this instead. And just make sure that they always know that we're making conscious choices with our money, because you can't just teach a kid like the ABCs of all finances or A through Z of finances, but you can teach them these little things, right? Um, it's so funny, the little things we pick up. I remember during 2008, my dad, him coming home and be like, we just lost all of our money. Like everything's gone. Like we just lost so much money.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like the stock market's done and we lost all of
Yeah.
our money. I remember thinking like, oh my God, like we ran out of money. My parents put all their money in stocks. And at the time, I just kind of thought there was like a wizard somewhere who was like, maybe just like a money machine that would just be like, today it's worth this. Now it's worth
Yeah.
this. And I had no idea what it was worth. So I thought that when you invest, it was basically, it was akin to gambling.
Mhm.
And, it wasn't until later on that I figured out, what investing was and what happened in 2008 and figured out that narrative. But I remember years and years later, I asked my dad, like, hey, Dad, because I know when he retired, he didn't have a TSP. He didn't have that military. He never invested in his company, like military 401k, and he never had an IRA. So I was like, Dad, when you said that we lost a bunch of money during 2008, like, where did you lose money? And he's like, oh, I guess in the house. But at the end of the day, we weren't going to we weren't going to sell the house. So none of it mattered. His
Yeah.
salary continued going during everything because he was still employed. In terms of things, nothing really changed for us. But I heard that message of, we just lost a bunch of money in the stock market. My dad, he felt poorer because of what was going on in the world,
Yeah.
but it didn't really have a material impact on our lives. But there was something that I heard in a passing comment that my dad doesn't even really remember saying. And then that shaped me for a number of years where I was afraid and I had to go through all this stuff to be okay to be with investing money and look into those fears and realize that they're not as big and scary as I thought they were.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you have a protector, like a parent, and they say we just lost everything, it's like your first thought is like, are we gonna be homeless? Like, what am I gonna eat? Like, what do you mean? And then come to find out, like, like unscathed, like untouched.
Yep.
It's just, it's miraculous. It's kind of miraculous if you think about it. That's wild.
Yeah, and I think it's important, like that you look back on those things and say, like, did what my parents teach me, is that really right? Some parents are maybe going to say, never use a credit card. All debt is bad.
Mhm.
And then when you hear us talk about using credit card points and stuff like that, you might be turned off and be like, no, my parents told me it's wrong. But you need to look at that and say, is what you're doing right now, is it serving your life? Or can you maybe update your thought process? Can you look and say, what serves me better? These old, outdated thoughts that my parents had and maybe didn't even truly mean, or these new paradigms of looking at things that we're trying to teach you. And if you decide that your parents were right and you want to stick with that, that's totally cool. I don't care. But we're just trying to show you that there are different ways and there's different levels of this game.
Absolutely.
So that's the reason I really like that second one, that, the way that you're raised affects your money decisions today. And only by reflecting on it and working through those things, sometimes even with a trained like financial advisor or therapist, can we really move forward.
It's true. Yeah, it's really true. You almost need a specialist sometimes. And there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. We all need help. And that actually ties into my next favorite one. Point number 7 is you can always recover from any money mistake, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
just going to take some time. We know this. We all make mistakes. If we didn't make mistakes, we'd probably be God, right? But we do make mistakes and we're not God. So yeah, there's that. But it's nice to know that there are options on the board that, it's not like, Chris, I lost all my money. So, I die now. It's death. I just killed myself. It's like, no, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. It's like, okay, I just lost all my money. Now what? It's like, well, do you have a job? Like, well, no. It's like one of those. Gotta get something coming in. Do you have a bank? You know what a bank is? Don't know what that is. We got to get you signed up for one of those so your money can go there. It's like there's levels to it. It's like there's always, you can always go up. You can always go up. You can always go down, but you can always go up. And that's what I love about point number 7 is no matter what kind of situation you've gotten yourself into, you can get yourself out of as well. Whether that's that consolidation or the snowball method or straight up bankruptcy, which we don't recommend. Very, very niche, very specific. And actually, our viewer mailbag, I took a little peek at it and it has something to do with bankruptcy. The fellow was asking if we should file for bankruptcy.
Oh,
And
well,
we'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, that's my next favorite. What about you? What's your next favorite?
yeah. To go back to that part, the
Okay, yeah, let's do
recovering
it.
from any financial mistakes. There's an old story about Ray Dalio, and I know we talked about Ray Dalio before. He's one of the biggest. He formerly was the CEO and owner of Bridgewater Associates, which is one of the biggest quant investing firms in the world, so hedge fund. But he actually went broke a few times, and he was one of the like richest, best off investors. And then he made a bet against, I think, Mexico at the time or something like that, and he lost everything. Like he went
Really?
from like being extremely wealthy to having absolutely nothing, having to move his kids and his wife in with his father-in-law, and like he had lived with his father-in-law in times. I remember when I heard that story, it was just like the goal doesn't need to be that you win big on everything. The goal just needs to be to not lose the game. But even Ray Dalio, who basically went from the top to having literally nothing and had to rebuild everything, he still had his mindset that he learned. So he still learned something. So he was able to rebuild it again. But even from going from the top to the bottom, he was able to rebuild it again to having the biggest, hedge fund in the world over time. So no matter what it
Wow.
is, you can overcome these things by believing in yourself and, basically brainwashing yourself into being able to make it through it. There is nothing that is so big. I've seen some pretty crazy bad financial places that people have put themselves into or just found themselves in through the circumstance, that through work and dedication they're able to get out of it. I'm not saying
Yeah.
it's easy. It's never
No.
easy, but it's possible.
I did
So,
not know that about Ray Dalio.
yep.
Wow. Is there a book that you could recommend on that story alone, or is there like an that would be
I think he talks about it in Principles, his book Principles.
okay? All
Mm-hmm.
right. Yeah, I was gonna say like that would be an epic saga. That would be dude. That's crazy. Yeah,
Um,
go for it.
Yeah, if you go on YouTube, you can look up Ray Dalio videos. There's two of them. There's one of how the economic machine works, and the other one is Principles. I would recommend watching it Principles. I'm pretty sure in his book he definitely talks about it, but I think inside the video, if you just want to watch like a 30-minute video, he talks about that process. He doesn't go very in depth. The book goes far more in depth, but yeah, you can read about that. it's pretty good because I remember when I got out of that is, oh, so my job, like look what Ray Dalio was able to do, and that's from starting over at zero in like his mid 30s or 40s.
Yeah.
What if I just never go to zero?
Yeah.
Like what if I don't have these huge swings, but I just never go back down to zero, don't lose the game? And that's what kind of led me so much down the current thought processes that I have on investing as to we're not always trying to hit grand slams. Sometimes getting to first base, to second base, to third base, to home, it's okay. The big thing we don't want to do is strike out.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's crazy though.
Mm-hmm.
That is, woo. Yeah. One thing Warren Buffett, I think it was Warren Buffett who was watching an interview on him, and he was saying like, you never bet the farm,
Mm-hmm.
never bet the farm. And that must have been a tough lesson to learn for Ray Dalio.
Yep. But he learned it and he moved forward with it, and now his principles are all based off of that, or based from that. Now he has the golden butterfly like portfolio, the all weather portfolio of having uncorrelated bets, because he learned from his mistake of if I put it all on red or all on black or all on green or whatever it is, all on this one number, if it hits, great, but if it doesn't hit, I lose everything. So now he has 6 to 7 uncorrelated bets. So if one thing's going up or 6 things are going up, hopefully something's going down. If all things are going down, hopefully one thing's going up. And that diversification actually leads to more increases. There's going to be times where you're down substantially versus someone who's in a highly concentrated portfolio, of course, but that highly concentrated portfolio can also go to zero, where those 7 to 10 correlated and uncorrelated bets can't go to zero unless like the world ends. And, at that point, what is your portfolio mean anyways?
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
So let's move on to the next money secret, if you don't mind. Money worries are common and normal. Just because you are afraid of money, just because you stress about money, it doesn't mean that you're not good with money. Like I said, I've worked with people who have $30,000. I've worked with people who have $30 million. And while their problems may be different, they still worry about money. And both people are at the same level of goodness or badness with money. It's really a skill, and you can build up on it. So everyone has money worries, and you're not alone in any way, shape, or form by being concerned about money.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's comforting to know that everybody, rich and poor, worries about money.
Mm-hmm.
And some say like the more money you have, the more worry you have, which I could see as well. But I don't know. I think it depends on the person.
It's just different, right? It's different money issues. Like if you're trying to figure out how you're going to make rent this next month, or how am I going to put food on the table, you have a very different money issue than someone who has a bunch of money. Someone who has a lot of money, they're worried about like, how are my kids going to inherit this money? How am I going to, are my kids going to learn the quality of things like that? When I work with the wealthy or with wealthy people, one of the things I find they worry most about is paying too much in taxes. And then number 2 is, how do they teach their kids about money? Now, is one problem better than the other? Yeah, I mean, I would much rather have that problem than be worried about how I'm going to put food on the table. But that's not to say that they're both not real problems to both those individuals. One is definitely a lot easier than the other, but you will always have problems. You will always have worries, and that's okay. This is part of it, and that's why you work with people. If you have anxiety, you seek out help. You seek support to be able to help fix those things.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So my next one, this is our final one for our little recap. Actually, I did some thinking. It's actually one of my favorite ones. It's not about what you earn. It's about what you spend. I like that one. You remember?
Mm-hmm.
You remember that one?
Oh yeah, that's number 1. I was one that wrote all these, so yes, I do remember it. Thank you.
You heard about? Let me teach you about number 1. Yeah. So this one is focusing on spending habits, right, and making sure that they align with your financial goals. Something we all need help from time to time. Even someone who's really dialed in on their finances, sometimes something will slip. You got to go back and figure out what's going on. But yeah, that's one of my favorite ones as well.
Yeah, I think it's important, especially for all these money secrets, for everything, is that you realize it's a practice. You're never going to reach enlightenment when it comes to money. You're never going to reach a point where you're 100% dialed in all the time. There's going to be moments where you're going to be like, I'm so good, and then it's going to fall off, and that's okay. And that's why you keep on practicing it your entire life. But I think too many people, we focus on if it's how much money you make minus how much money you spend. Too many people focus on how much money they make, and they're only focusing if it's A minus B equals C. They're only focused on A, and they're just thinking like, oh, what can I do to increase A? What can I do to increase A? If I make it to six figures, I'll be happy. I made it to six figures. I have to make it to, I guess, mid six figures to be happy. And they keep on moving that goalpost without realizing that there's still another side of the equation. You can still work on how much money you spend. And if you focus on that, that is something that is always within your control. How much money you spend is within your control to a reasonable amount of degree. But how much money you make is not always in your control.
Yeah.
I can't go to my boss tomorrow if I'm employed and be like, give me 30% more. Unless I want to get kicked out. But I can look at my budget every month and say, how can I save 30% more? And is it going to be easy to save 30% more? No, it's not going to be easy, but it's 100% in my control. So it's the first lever that I recommend pulling is how can we get our spending in alignment? Because if we don't get that in alignment, we can go and make more money. And that's great. But if you never get that first part under control, the more money you make, the more money you will spend until you figure that out. And you'll be on this hamster wheel for your entire life, always saying, I'm making more money and I have no idea where it's going. It's like trying to catch water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Trying to catch water. That's a good analogy. Yeah, that actually is a good analogy. Yeah, simple as that, guys. I hope you enjoyed that little recap of Monday's pod. I think with that being said, let's get on to the next segment. You ready to go?
And if you want to hear the rest or the other 12, maybe 13, maybe 14 secrets, please go back and listen to Monday's podcast to hear them all. But with that being said, I say we move on to 5 Friday feedback and our viewer mailbag. Dominic, are you ready to get into this one?
I'm ready to get into this. This is a good one. So I am $80,000 in high interest debt.
Nice.
Ouch. Howdy, Fi guys. I need some guidance. I am a 27-year-old male living in Ohio. Ohio. A wild place, I hear.
I hear so do I, based off what I see on Instagram.
Indeed. I'm in a full commission worker for several years. I've made a lot of money young, thinking my industry would stay stable, but I was ignorant and gullible, which led me here. Due to markets and my previous company stealing from me, living situations, and my poor choices, I have $80,000 plus in high interest debt and then some. I've been playing a balancing act for over 2 years, trying to keep my credit card in check. It's probably at around a 680 right now, with no late marks. Jinkies.
Yep.
I started my new job 2 weeks ago. Nice. And have potential to make a lot, which is nice. Working 10 to 12 hours, 1099 though. Okay, so it's not W-2. But I am out of time.
So he went from one 1099 job or like one contracting type job to another contracting job. I wonder when he says 10 to 12 hours if he means per day or per week.
I don't know, because 12 hours a day is not sustainable.
No.
Not at
But he's
all.
also saying he's out of time, so like I'm guessing his credit cards are about to I guess we'll go on.
I don't know. My last credit card is maxed out.
Oh, there we are.
There it is. And I'm forced to choose between my minimum payments or turning them off and destroying my credit.
What does he mean by turning them off, you think? Like
I don't that'd be nice though. That'd be nice.
I
pause.
I'm just gonna press the pause button on the credit
the
cards and I press pause. I called shenanigans, Mr. Debt Collector. You can't get me for that.
Just don't no more interest this month. I'm not feeling it.
I'm guessing even by turning it off, I think he means he's gonna turn off automatic payments for minimum payments. That's what my guess is.
Oh,
So just let them all just run to collections.
That's terrible. I intended on making the money, and I believed I will, but I'm assuming I do great, and I will be burdened. What is that? What was that sentence?
Want to read that again?
Yeah, I intended on making money, and I believe I will, but even assuming I do great, I will still be burdened. Okay, there we go. It looks like it's a me issue. I wake up every day, and I go to bed every day thinking about this. That's a lot of stress.
Mm-hmm.
That weighs heavy on the shoulders. I do not have a lot of people in my life to ask these kinds of questions, but everyone who I have asked has told me to avoid bankruptcy. All I need is my car, in my opinion. Do I go bankrupt and live off my new pay, or is there some sort of solution, path, guidance, or method that you have for me, please advise me. Thank you. From new jobs promise, potential gleams, but 80K in interest dims my dreams.
Oh boy.
Jinkies, he's in a bit of a pickle.
He is in a
But
bit of a pickle. I
we
wish he would
know
have. I wish he would have listened to our 12 money secrets long ago. We could have.
Exactly.
This could have definitely helped him out before finding himself here.
Mhm.
Um,
Thankfully, number 7 is in play though. Number 7, we can recover from any money mistake. So
we can.
listen, it might be the bottom of the ninth, but we're still in the game.
Yeah, we're still in the game, and that's okay. So it sounds like the big thing is he's always been a 1099 contractor. So he's probably in some sort of like sales role, would be my guess, because he says it's like hell or high water in making money. But my guess is that his lifestyle was too far outside of the situation. So the moment the money turned off, he just kept on trying to run that lifestyle and keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. So that's too bad that he doesn't feel like he has a lot of people to talk to. But it does sound like the people that he does have to talk to has led him in a good direction. Like don't just declare bankruptcy, because there are some places where you ask them like, what should I do? And they're like, oh, just declare bankruptcy. Like it's a get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
You just do it. It's donezo. Easy.
Yeah, I did
easy.
it last weekend. It's fun.
I do it every 2 days. It's fun.
Yeah.
Like, go buy whatever you want and then just do it. So I'm glad that whoever he's talking to did tell him that. And I guess the nice thing is that he listened to us, or he found the Fi Guys at least. So we are here for him. And even if you don't have people in your life that are right there available to you to talk to in person, building a community like we have here at the Fi Guys, it's a great way to still be able to learn passively just by listening to Dom and I talk to each other. We get to be that fly on the wall and hopefully passively pick up some of these things that we've worked so long in our life to be able to understand without having to go through the same mistakes. And by being able to listen to our viewer mailbag and listen to someone who's made mistakes like this or has gone through issues like this, you'll be able to not make that same issue for yourself in the future. So to our listener, our first step is we first need to build a plan to address the debt without bankruptcy. I mean, bankruptcy is always an option that's on the table, but it should not be the first option. It's like getting a divorce when it comes to bankruptcy. Before we get a divorce from our spouse, we should go to therapy. We should talk to each other. We should try to do every single thing. It shouldn't be like, oh, you left the toilet seat up. Divorce. We're
Gone.
done.
Axed.
It's the same thing with the debt. So we first need to see how long it would take to pay this all off. So what that means for you, our listener, is that you need to figure out your lifestyle and you need to figure out a budget. So once you do that exercise, once you list out every single thing that you have, all of the debts, every single credit card, all the interest rates and everything like that, once you do that exercise, it's going to turn out better than you thought or worse than you thought and how long it's going to take. But without actually having those numbers, we're just kind of guessing as to how long it's going to be. And this is far too important of a subject to just guess at how long it's going to take to pay this off. So once we have that baseline, then you can start looking at alternatives. So maybe you need to come up with a thorough budget, and then you can actually start looking at what your alternatives are. But without that budget, it's going to be very difficult. If you just say oh, my expenses are just random, whatever they are, we have no idea how much we can save. So after we have the budget, we're going to have to cut down on your spending. We're really going to have to go to a meat and potatoes or not meat and potatoes, like bologna and bread type of lifestyle. Mm-hmm. You're going to need to know where every single cent goes. So if that means ways to cut down your spending is you have to do some house hacking or start bringing someone into your house to share the house. If you need to sell the car to get monthly payments down, what can we do to start getting cash in our hands immediately to pay this down? You can always look at another option. I'm not the biggest fan of this option, but it is an option. Is you can always do like a credit card transfer where you transfer that $80,000 to a different credit card that you open with a 0% interest rate. And then you have a plan to pay that down before it goes. Remember when you do that though, there's typically a 3% fee. So for that $80,000, you're gonna have to pay maybe like 3,000-ish bucks, $2,500 in order to do that. But that might be able to help you out if you're able to pay down the debt within the time frame that you have that 0% interest loan on there. And the other things you need to do is you need to go out and find extra work, like maybe work on the weekends after your primary job. I know your current job is 1099, so that really is hell or high water that you need to figure it out or not figure it out. So hopefully you're good at that job. And I mean, like you said, you've been successful in things like this in the past. So I'm going to guess you're going to be able to figure that out. But maybe even a normal job where it's a W-2. That way, like for sure that you are bringing in this money. Because with 1099, it's not guaranteed. You could do really, really well, or you could put in 10, 12 hours a day, which first off, 12 hours a day is not sustainable in any way, shape, or form.
No.
So you can't do that for that long. And if you are doing that, there's no way you're going to have another like slide W-2 job where you're working something to make a little bit of extra money. But in terms of bankruptcy, I would definitely go back and listen to episode 32 of the Fi Guys and 32F, where we talk all about bankruptcy and the nuances of that, because it's not an easy process. So I am glad that people have pushed you away from it, because $80,000, while it may seem huge, it's not something you can't get out of. You can fix any problem. But I mean, honestly, maybe paying it off will make you feel the pain and hopefully not repeat it.
Yeah.
Because what I find is people that go through bankruptcy, they don't feel that pain. Obviously, bankruptcy sucks and it's all the issues. But that's why people that declare bankruptcy often find themselves in bankruptcy years and years again later. Sometimes it's for different reasons, but there are times that it's for the same exact reason, because they'd never figured out the habits they need to do it. So maybe by not declaring bankruptcy, you won't find yourself in the same situation in the future.
That would be my hope. That would be my hope. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, what are your thoughts on this one, Dominic?
It reminds me of what you were saying earlier on in the podcast, how Ray Dalio rose to financial success that 99.9% of the world will never see, and lost it all. Now, he lost all money. He didn't lose his wife and kids, thankfully. But then he built it back up. He rose from the ashes. And I mean, I don't know the story too well, Chris, but did he lose $100,000, Ray Dalio, or 100 million?
Oh no, it was like millions of dollars.
It was lots of money, right? So if a guy like, if a person can lose hundreds of millions of dollars and come back.
So he already, so just to add more, he already had a successful hedge fund. Mm-hmm. He lost not just like, it was his money that was all invested in the hedge fund and all of his clients' money. Like he destroyed, like very bad bet.
Very bad bet. Yeah. And he came back though. He rose back. He learned from his mistakes. He got more money back. He came back, right? And I think what I'm getting at is the perspective, right? One man lost hundreds of millions of dollars. Also, his money and other people's money. This person is down 80,000, a sizable amount, nonetheless. But it just shows that you can come back. You're far from bankruptcy. You can pull it. You can pull a clutch play, right? It's not going to be quick. There's no buzzer beater to win the game in this scenario, right? It's going to be a long, grueling season. But at the end of the season, we can get ourselves out of the 80,000 plus and build the good financial habits and put ourselves back on track, So yeah. That's my take on it. He's in a bad position, but he's got, you can pull it. You can get out of it. You've got this.
Yeah, I think my biggest concern right now is he says he's basically he's going to turn off the credit cards, which I'm assuming we talked about, which means I'm going to just stop making minimum payments.
Yeah, give up.
And I think a lot of that is because right now he's in 1099 work and he says like, I think I can make money, but he's not really sure. Well, I understand 1099 work is glorious because you can make a lot of money from it quickly, but you could also not make a lot of money. So maybe he needs to think about going to like a W-2 work where, yeah, you don't have the potential to like out earn your salary exponentially, but at least you have guaranteed income. Because if he doesn't want his credit score to go to crap, he needs to continue to make those minimum payments. And then once he has this plan in place, once he knows every single debt that he has and he knows all the interest rate, he can decide if he wants to go debt snowball or debt avalanche and either choose to take out the smallest balances or take out the one with the highest interest rates. But right now, it sounds like he's doing the spray and pray approach where he just throws a little bit of money at everything. And when you do that, you end up doing nothing. And I've seen too many people be stuck in limbo for years doing the spray and pray approach where they're just like throwing money at random debts, at random things all the time without a system in place. And then they never see progress. So without that plan, and you need to make it for yourself. I mean, you can go and find a debt consolidator. You can find all these things. I think a lot of that's a bunch of hullabaloo that's just going to I mean, the amount of money you're going to pay for a debt consolidator person to help you is probably not worth. It's probably better just to put at the debt itself. Um, Even sometimes the people that are the debt like specialists who will help you make a financial plan, I think it'd be most of the time it's better off just putting it at the debt and figuring it out yourself, because it's good to teach a man to fish, but you sometimes need to teach yourself how to fish rather than having other people just do it for you.
100%. You have to prove to yourself that you have the ability to save yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the situation he's in. He's not sure if he can make money. He's not sure if it'll continue. He's not sure of his judgment, because at first he thought the initial job was going to last forever, right? So maybe his faith in himself is wavering, but he can pull through.
Yeah,
You got to learn. You got to teach yourself sometimes. Like Chris was
it's
saying.
funny that as we kind of go through this, that like had we met this guy, or he heard the 12 money secrets we went over on Monday, like we touched on like money secret number 1, money secret number 2, money secret number 6, even the one that's like money secret number 7. What's the other one that we've talked about that is super important? Money secret number 13, prepare for unexpected losses.
Yeah.
Like he was not prepared for these unexpected losses, and they came and they bit him in the ass. And that's okay. We learn from our mistakes, but now it's time that you figure it out, like we talked about. And please, if you need help, you can always reach out to me, Chris at Mons on Wolf, and I can help to walk you through it. But we've already told you what you need to do. There is no secret other plan. There is no government fixes besides bankruptcy. There's nothing like that. There is spend less money than you make and throw the rest at your debt aggressively. Because if it is high interest debt, there is no way you're going to out earn it in the market.
No, there's just no way. There's just no way. But yeah, I hope that information helped you. I hope it was a educational part for the listener. And with that being said, good luck from Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And let's get on to win of the week. So
you want to go first or me?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Mine are usually, you gotta let the best one go first, I guess. No, Chris's win of the weeks are usually, I would say 8 out of 10, usually better than mine. He's in a different phase of his life. I'm still in a different phase. But my win of the week this week is I got a new M.2 drive for my computer, which was covered by insurance that I kind of forgot that I got. It's and I went in and I'm like, before I went in, I did my research and I checked and I was like, oh, this is still under coverage. I'm like, this is freaking awesome. I went in, I'm like, hey, my drive is being all wonky. Can you fix it? They went by, it'll be 10 minutes. I'm like, cool. I come back 10 minutes later and they're like, we can't even open it. It doesn't even work. Nothing about this thing runs. I'm like, all right, fine, whatever, man. What's the deal here? He's like, okay, go to the checkout, tell them the situation, and they're gonna help you out. I'm like, can you help me out? He's like, nope. I'm like, whatever. I went over there, and they're like, it's under warranty. I'm like, hog, that's great. I was like, what's the next step? Like, go back there, pick whatever you want, and if it's the same price, it'll cover it. If it's a little bit more, you just cover the difference. I ended up getting a brand new drive, $40 more, but even faster. So I'm very freaking stoked about that. Very, very, very freaking stoked. Because I was editing on a hard drive, which was very slow. M.2, so fast. So that's my win of the week. Very,
sweet.
Very, very good week for me. Good Lord.
Nice. So my win of the week is my wife just got approved for the Chase Sapphire Preferred card. And we just got it in the mail yesterday. So that one has a $4,000 minimum spend, and typically it gets you 60,000 points, but we were actually able to get it for 75,000 points. So once we hit that minimum spend of $4,000, which for us will be easy, that 75,000 points will roughly be valued at around $1,500 worth of travel that we'll be able to use to go on next travel places. So we're always building these things up slowly over time. So I'm excited to have another card in our arsenal. And my wife has been looking at, or what we think we might do, since she just got approved for the card, is she might refer me to the same card. I'll get the $75,000 bonus, and then she'll get like a $15,000 or 15,000 point bonus as well for getting that. So there's a little hack for people who are playing in this 2-player mode. Your spouse can get it, and then you can refer your other spouse.
That's dirty. That's dirty. Oh, that's good. I like that one. I like that
Mm-hmm.
one. That's a good bone. 1,500. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So, I mean, I like I said, for Chase points, based off the credit card one we talked about, I usually value those at 2 cents a point. So for Bryn's 75,000 that she just got, once we hit that point spread, that 75 times 2 is 1,500. So $1,500. So, for $4,000 spend, we're going to be able to spend or be able to use $1,500 towards travel. And that might be really whatever we want it to be, if not more, depending on how we play that game.
Pretty snazzy.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty snazzy. I like that.
Well, and that card only has a $95 annual fee. So the way I look at it is for $95, we're getting $1,500 of value in the first year, because that $4,000 to get the 75,000 points, we were going to spend anyways. We're already going to spend that money for cost of living. We're not spending an additional $4,000. We're just being a little bit more optimized on what we're going to spend on this card for the next month or two.
$95? That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I was expecting much higher than that. That's really good.
Nope, $95 for $1,500 in value once we do it, and that's not even counting using that card to like go out and go dining and do stuff like that, because that card gives you 3 times points on dining, which is not as good as my Amex that gives me 4 times point on dining. But at least we have different cards that my wife can use in case I'm not there. She can always use her card in case she goes out with her friends or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's win of the week, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that little positive end on the podcast for today.
Mm-hmm.
If you're still with us, make sure to like, subscribe if you are on YouTube. If you're not on YouTube, that's okay. Just do whatever you want to do to support the podcast. Yeah, leave a comment. Leave a
5-star comment.
Ooh, there you go. I like that. We do need some more ratings on the Spotify and whatnot. But don't forget the fee for the show. Our fee for our work today is that, if you would so kind, please tell a friend about the Fi Guys so we can grow our financial community and bring the world out of financial troubles. But yes, finance is so much more fun when you go at it with a friend. And that's speaking from someone who's done it alone and done it with the homie, Chris. It's so much more fun doing it with a friend. It's almost the way Chris does it. Chris gamifies it. It's inspired me. It really has. So get yourself a friend to go on this financial journey with. We'll see you on Monday again, as always. Hope you have a great weekend if you're watching this on Friday. But yeah, from the Fi Guys, that's it for us. Later, guys.
All right, guys. You guys have a good weekend. Later.
Peace.
This video podcast is sponsored by Monzon Wealth. The content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. We do not endorse specific products or services. Past performance does not guarantee future results. The opinions expressed are those of the host and guests, not the podcast sponsor. It is crucial to consult with a qualified financial advisor or professional who can provide advice tailored to your specific needs before making any financial decisions, investments, or taking any other actions. If you are seeking specified help, you can reach out to Chris at monzonwealth.com.